And welcome to the If They Can Do It podcast, the podcast that interviews ordinary people who do extraordinary things and wants you walking away thinking, hey, if they can do it, so can I. And this week, my friends, this week, I'm telling you, we all need that person. Maybe, it's even once, twice a week, maybe, who will just kind of call us out when we can do a little more, particularly like in the gym when they know, this looks a little too easy and will make us lift more or run faster or do all the things. It is so important to have those people in our lives because they teach us what not settling looks like, and they teach us how to trust ourselves to push ourselves when it's not a day that we're at the gym and they're handing us the heavier dumbbell, the heavier kettlebell, all of that. And that is why this person on this episode has meant so much to me, because we met at such an important time in my life. I know y'all know I had bariatric surgery and I didn't know how to lift a weight. I had never lifted a weight. All I was a runner, but I knew I wanted to feel strong and not just good at cardio. And so I joined a gym, and I had to let it be awkward for a little bit, not knowing what I was doing. And this person came right alongside me and taught me how to lift some weights. And one of the tips I will never forget is, you know what? When you're doing an RDL, just close the car door with your butt. And that will be how good form happens. And so after that big intro, Bridget, the one and only, how are you?
I love it. Oh my gosh, I feel so honored. I'm great. Thank you for all of that. That was amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I'm not sure if like the team over there, with GTX and doing all of that kind of knew that aspect of it, that like I wanted to be strong, and bariatric surgery can sometimes, if you're not deliberate about it, can sometimes make you feel weak just because you're not taking in enough calories, and it's just a little bit all the time. And so that was something that I wanted to change. I wanted to lift and kind of trust myself to be able to do that. And I had never done that before. So, publicly on the podcast, like, thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. But I will say you always asked all the right questions too, and we're a student through and through. So, I mean, if it's hard to change people who don't want to change, and you were not one of those people. You were always just looking for the next step. So it helps having a personality like yours that's always digging for answers. So you always did it for yourself, man. I was just a witness, and proud to be one too.
Well, thank you. And I don't think I've ever asked you this, like, what even got you into the gym? Because as far as like your Instagram and all that, it seems like it's always been a part of your life.
Absolutely. It started when I was in high school. I got my first certification in high school. I worked as a weight training coach for my strength and conditioning coach then. So that was kind of square one for me. But I also have parents involved as physical therapists my whole life. So exercise, fitness, wellness, it was always there because of them as well. So I actually kind of went off the beaten path a little bit and was like, anarchy, I don't want to be like my parents, and instead went into the veterinary world. But it was like still paralleling that, but a different species, of course, and got into large animal veterinary work in college, but still always had fitness in the background. I played soccer at Minnesota on the club team, and was always just trying to find ways to stay involved. On top of doing a lot of rodeo. And so it was like activity without lifting was always there. And then I ended up getting injured from horseback riding, and I tore my ACL a couple times. So I always had to resort to fitness. And I think when I really got back into it hard and heavy was when I had a revision surgery for my ACL in I believe it was like 2013 or 14. and I had to kind of quit horses because it wasn't working out for me, um, and got into bodybuilding as a way to kind of be competitive, but recover recover appropriately from
Wait.
what
So
I was going through.
how did
I
that
know.
happen? Because that's not like, well, I guess, if I'm not gonna ride horses, bodybuilding's the thing. I mean, that's the
I
only
don't
other
know.
option.
I ended up in Arizona, right? When I quit horseback riding, I ended up here in Arizona, and fitness is so big here.
Yeah.
And the bodybuilding industry is enormous. And so the gyms that I was working out at, they were always around me, and I just kind of was like, you know what? I'm gonna see what I can do. And so I started training myself, and then met somebody who was a bodybuilding coach, got involved with him, and he kind of dialed me in to my first couple of shows, and then
Okay.
that's kind of how I got into it. But as quickly as I got into it, I got out of it too because it's a very extreme sport. However, it taught me a ton about just appropriate lifting, lifting that my body responds well to, which is
Mm-hmm.
typically hypertrophy
Mm-hmm.
training. And I learned a lot about how to manipulate my nutrition to get the aesthetic that I wanted. But however, like bodybuilding is a very there's a facade that it looks healthy because people look like they're in great shape, but
Yeah.
they're actually very unhealthy internally. For like the look of the aesthetic, they do a
Yeah.
lot of very terrible things to themselves internally. So I knew I didn't want to be long term into that sport. Um, and got out of it, and just kind of that's probably what really started the ball rolling. I got back into training full time, at gyms at places like Orange Theory and F45, and then just independent training. um, and then yeah, I've just kind of really circled back to that, and then here we are today working for currently Lifetime, but also as a nurse, being able to put all of the pieces together and help people from the medical side as well as just the training side with my extensive background. And just I've done so much. I'm not very old, but I've done so much in my years that I just feel very wise in the fitness industry, and I'm really blessed to have been able to experience a lot of these things, both good and bad, to be able to relate to people like you and normal people that just want more ideas, more tips, more tricks. Like I'm all about the quick, easy fix, but in the best way. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited to be able to do that for people.
So like your whole journey, I mean, starting off and just being, I mean, the only other way to put it, I'm from Wyoming, so I understand it, like just country strong, very
Yeah.
functional, very like you get
Yeah.
strong because you lift heavy things and what you're doing requires you to be strong, in terms of horseback riding and the core strength it takes to do that and all that kind of stuff
Sure.
to it being about the aesthetic and less function, like
Hmm.
to your point, right? What happens internally? What explain how your relationship with your body has changed, like riding that wave to all these different kinds of
Yeah, that's
fitness and all that.
actually a really great question. Obviously, it started functional. It started for performance, right? As an athlete, in high school, and having a lot of success with that through college, with the horseback riding and soccer. It then, like you said, it changed to that aesthetic format, and now I feel like I'm back to that functional but also competitive side, which is kind of a crazy little roller coaster. And I've been in and out of both of those styles, it seems like a couple of different times, but that's definitely how it's changed. It started with athlete, it kind of morphed into more lifestyle, then heavy in aesthetics, and then back to functional. And now I feel like I'm back to athlete competitor mode again, as a full blown adult, jumping into these high rocks things. So yeah, it's been a crazy metamorphosis. That's crazy. I've never really thought of it that way. So I'm glad you brought that up because I really had a time to really dive into kind of the evolution of my own journey. So yeah, I feel like that kind of is how it's been, and it seems like just yesterday, but it's also like 10 years ago that I even was in aesthetics, and then several years ago that I was in high school. So um, but the body is an amazing tool, and it will do whatever you ask of it so long as you're willing to put in the work and the consistency to get it where you want it to be. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is it truly is something you have to have full investment in, in order to put pieces together of what you really want from yourself, whether it's just getting well for a lifestyle change, or whether you want some sort of performance outlet. Like you kind of have to decide, and that's what you have to train for. It's hard to do everything, but you have to start with something.
Yeah. Do you think like your relationship with your body has been healthy for the most part? Like not healthy, like fruits and vegetables, like that kind of stuff, but like
Yeah.
mentally, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say as a young kid, so I got teased pretty heavily in high school for being muscular, right? I've always
Uh-huh.
had a build that's a little bit broader shoulders, a little bit more definition. I wasn't your like typical Abercrombie wearing. That stuff didn't fit
That
me.
is
Like,
that generation too, huh? Yeah,
I
that's
know,
right.
I know
Yeah.
that, but it broke my heart because all of these other people around me could wear it, but my body type, I joke that I have like the body of an iPhone. Like I'm very rectangular. I have no shape, or a Lego body is another thing. But so that always bummed me out, and it was interesting because I really had a hard time, even like like bringing up dating and stuff. Everyone just viewed me as kind of one of the guys,
Mhm.
and I look back on that now, and when I was younger, it bothered me, but now I'm kind of like, well, that's actually okay because a lot of those people I don't even associate or talk to anymore, and if they reach out, it's fitness related. So
Yeah, yeah.
here I am. But then, getting into bodybuilding, I definitely have really changed into that body dysmorphia mindset, and it still sticks with me to this day, which is really hard, right? Because you're constantly critiquing
Mhm.
yourself when you're in that industry, and you're comparing against other people or what judges might want. And it gets really difficult in the mental game because you start to just be really hard on yourself, and it's never good enough, and every picture is terrible. Um, and people will tell you how good you look, but you don't believe it on the inside at all. Like it never sticks. And it's funny that you brought that up too, because recently I did a scan and I posted about it being 13.5% body fat. And I spun out. I was like, oh
Mm.
my God, like I'm way too thin, blah, 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 blah. And then I went up and did another scan and I was 15%. And I'm like, oh my God, I would have to get back to 13%. Like this is, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
that still sticks with me to this day. And it's a real big bummer because it's something I'll always have to an extent, but I see it a lot in other people too. So I really try to help a lot of people through that body dysmorphia phase. And again, I wouldn't even call it a phase, I guess, but it will come and go. Once you have it, it doesn't go away, and you have to learn how to live with it. So I've had a very unhealthy mindset about my body since bodybuilding.
Yeah.
That really triggers me. And now that I'm getting back into performance, and seeing my capabilities regardless of my aesthetic, it's
Mhm.
helping me get back to that self-love point of like, okay, well, this or this or this might not be what you look like, or yeah, you have really toned arms for a female and they don't look good in a dress, but they can also do these incredible things and outlast a lot of people in certain events. And like, that's something that you need to embrace and be really grateful for, because that's not something everybody has. So
Yep.
um, I have learned to kind of look back at little Bridget and be like, you know what, it was okay. It was okay that you didn't have the clothes, or
Yep.
the boys didn't quite gravitate towards you or whatever. And still to this day, that's just always something I'm going to deal with. But yeah, it definitely, healthy or unhealthy, again, that's another ebb and flow issue for me. I never think that I'm quite good enough, but I also think that's why I have a lot of success, is because like you said in the intro, I don't settle very well, which might annoy people around me.
It
Um,
annoyed me. It annoyed me
yes,
a
I'm
lot.
sorry. I
No,
wish I
you're
could
not.
say
No, you're
okay
not. No,
instead
you're
of,
not.
that is a hardwired thing in myself, is I'll get, I'll get the gist of something, but then I turn and I pivot, I guess I should say. I always pivot and find something else
Yep.
to get better at too. But yeah, it's hard, man. Being a female right now too, in any generation, honestly, it's so hard. And body positivity is around, but there's still a lot of work to be done for us, and it's starting to really trickle into the male population too. I
Mhm.
see a lot of males really, really suffering from those body dysmorphia comments. But it's a mindset thing. You really have to work on yourself to get through it because it just really never goes away. But when it shows up, you have to have the tools to get through.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny because in my journey, like the most obvious thing about the way that I look is the thing that like has probably had the least impact on my psyche. So for those of you
Hmm.
listening, the most obvious thing about the way that I look is that I'm 5 foot nothing. Like that is the most obvious thing.
Yeah,
But that I when I think about myself, that's not something that I think about.
right.
As a matter of fact, like the only time that I thought about it would be I would be super frustrated buying clothes. So like you were
Mm.
talking about being in high school and not being able to wear, the stuff that everybody wanted. Well, I grew up in the Jinko generation, which means
Yes.
my inseam is not long enough for the big pockets on the back.
Pockets were on the floor.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so like there were things that maybe like I couldn't wear, but I never dwelled on that. I never saw myself as the size that I was like even as a kid. So in kindergarten I was 25 pounds. Like I
Oh my.
was I was tiny, tiny, like backpack clearing the ground by like this much, on my back. And I my parents had put me in judo as a way to like
Mhm.
build my confidence. And at every tournament, like the two kids come in the middle and they don't do it by weight, they do it by age. And
Right.
so like somebody my age would come and they'd be like 6, 7 inches taller than me. And I'm like super competitive and super ambitious. So I'm up there like ready to go. And the judge is going like, wait, how old are you?
Huh.
How old are you? And like kind of did this like I wash my hands and whatever happens, like
Yes.
in this, but I
Yes.
would win all the time. And so there wasn't anything telling me that I couldn't do something from that
Totally.
perspective, from that
Yeah.
perspective. But the thing that hit me was my relationship with food and like certain shame that probably stemmed from like my parents' divorce, like in that
Hmm.
generation when that was a very big generation of parents, you need to tell the kids it's not their fault, like that needs to be
Yes.
so super clear, it's not their fault. And so I knew it wasn't my fault, like so I could rationalize, I don't know, I didn't do anything to like make this happen. But
Right.
what it did tell me was that my parents had big problems and I didn't need to add to it.
Hmm.
And so, like, I hid things. I felt shame and like didn't go anywhere with it because it was my job not to add to my parents' problems. So I dealt with that because I was home alone. I didn't know how to cook. I was a latchkey kid. I would just eat like bowls of ice cream and cereal. And I don't know why I did it, but I would finish it. Nobody would make me feel shame. Nobody was even home. And I would hide the bowls of ice cream underneath my bed.
Oh
And I
wow.
don't know and I don't know why, like, at
Hmm.
all. And then I had just ballooned up, and there were times I was heavier, there was times when I wasn't. But, it's funny when you talk about, like, the body not being good enough, and that's really with anything, it doesn't even have to be your body. But, like, having your goals and meeting your goals, you have to, like, hold lightly to. Because if
Hmm.
you're expecting there to be a there, like a goal to like complete you and give you like purpose in life when you achieve it, it's not going to do that. It's
No.
it isn't going to be this thing. And so like for you, this with bodybuilding, if even if you did get the perfect thing, your eye was taught critically to find another thing.
Correct.
And our minds will always do that. And so it's it's hard to do. That's an easy concept to understand, but very very hard to put into practice where you have goals but don't expect meeting the goal to fulfill you.
Correct. And interestingly enough, I just made a post on this last week about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're kind of preaching to that right now, and I talk to people a lot about this too as clients and friends, how you want these external things and you think they're going to bring you that happiness, that wealth. Um, but you forget that your happiness should actually radiate from the inside out. If you can't figure out how to make yourself happy within yourself, then it doesn't matter what you do, what goal you reach, what car you drive, how much money you have. those things just go into a black hole and you continue to be empty. But you have to figure out how to radiate your happiness from the inside out. And that starts with just your own self exploration and love and appreciation. And that shows in people too. You can tell just by how people carry themselves and maybe like a confidence factor.
Hmm.
You can tell who those people are who have that intrinsic motivation and intrinsic happiness, the stuff from within, versus the people who aim for things outside for other people to make them happy. You know, that's why relationships have issues oftentimes, is because well, you didn't do this for me, so now I'm not
Hmm.
happy and now we have a problem.
Yep.
Well, maybe they didn't do that thing for you because there's something within you that's not satisfiable because it's you, right? So
Yeah.
that's a very deep thing for people to kind of think about within themselves too. You know, why are you doing these external things? What's inside that's bothering you or hurting you that you need to fix so that those things don't really carry any weight. They're great and they're supplemental, but they're not the answer to the problem for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've, uh, I've brought this story up on the podcast. Yeah, I forget which quarterback it was, but like people who are in the NFL, that's like a whole life journey from Pee Wee,
Yeah.
like kid, and all they want to do is win a Super Bowl. And most people, if they win one, that's usually the only one that they win. And so quarterback goes and wins one and like celebrates and gets back to the hotel room that night and then sits there and is like, was that it?
Yeah.
like, like, is that okay, so like now what, kind of a thing. And that moment is almost worse than getting it because you've put
Correct.
everything on getting this thing. And when it doesn't fulfill you and you're still hungry and you're still hungry for something. And then
Hmm.
to your point, when you put that responsibility on other people to fulfill you, who have their own insecurities, who have their own traumas, who have their own things, um, that just by fiat is set up for failure to put that on somebody else who's trying to figure out their own stuff. And
Hmm.
so, it's interesting kind of to bring it back to our bodies. My grandpa had a great perspective on it, and he's like, you know why you work hard is because you can. Like right now it's a choice. And the
Hmm.
older you get, more choices get taken away from you because we all end up the same way. And as long as it's a choice and you have the choice to do something, do it,
Correct. I agree.
because nobody is so special that it's not going to be taken away. And that just kind of makes you be super grateful, and not like in a real way of being grateful, not in a way of like, oh, there's a silver lining and this is really crap, but like I have to find the good in it, like not in a way that's like that, but in a way that's like, you know what, this is crap, but it has to be useful. Like this pain isn't going to be wasted in
Right.
any way. Like it can be leveraged. I can use it in some way to become better.
Totally. It's that no pain, no gain mentality, right? Like, and pain can be not necessarily physical pain, but like a growing pain of some
Mhm.
kind. Um, and it should always come back to, I do this with my son when he plays baseball and with his games. Instead of trying to tell him all the things that went wrong, I always say, tell me the three things you think you did well and what do you want to work better or work on for next time? Like, what do you want to do better next time?
Yeah.
So you kind of stray away from the like over criticizing and it becomes more of a constructive behavior. So you can self assess without self destructing at the same time. And it's a good practice to get into as humans too. I'll have people do what's called a day dump in a journal. They keep it in their nightstand, and at the end of every day, they lay down and they just write, things of throughout their day that they just want to keep in a journal and maybe never see them again, or maybe they do want to review them, but at the very bottom, they do their top three things for the day,
Yep.
their three positives, and the next morning, that's the first thing that they read are their three positives to bring them into their next day. So it has to become a practice. And I think too much of us require, like, we always want the physical, but we forget how much brain power we have behind it all, and that our physical outlet will come from our mindset on the inside too. So always, it's an ever growing, ever changing practice with the day to day because society is crazy. But yeah, all of that's so valid. And the football reference is incredible too. Like you sacrificed all of this too. Like let's revisiting that, right? They win it. It's not fulfilling. And then you start to think about, well, I sacrificed all this time with my friends and my family and this money and
And my
for this.
parents like
Yeah,
sacrifice
right.
like
Like
all the yeah.
you gave all that up and it's still not there. So yes, I love pushing people to think outside of what we think we need. And in fact, what you think you need is not what you thought you needed at all, right?
Yeah.
So it's a fun part of my job to be able to get people to think outside of that box.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny that you were talking about journaling that
Mm-hmm.
way because professionally that has been probably the most useful thing in
Mm-hmm.
my career to doing when I didn't know the next steps to take. When I'm like how am I going to develop? How am I going to do this thing? Like 5 years ago in my career I was working at in on the retail side of the company that I work for. And like I was, truth be told, like my boss and my boss's boss were starting down the road of asking, hey, could we fire this person? Like it was down that road. Then we had my son. And so now I'm on leave and like doing all that. Then COVID
Yeah.
happens. And now I'm working for the online side of our store because the stores were closed. And I get mad because I'm like, well, I'm going to do all this good work and they're still going to think I'm garbage and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I had to think, okay, if I'm spending time away from my son, like I have to do something in the 8 hours that I'm clocked in to make spending 8 hours away from my son worth it. Because my
Correct. Yeah.
son is literally on the other side of the door because I'm working from home. I would
Mm-hmm.
much rather be on the other side. So what's going to keep me in this room?
Yeah.
And like, great, like that's a great thing to say, but like, what does that mean? And the truth is, I didn't know what the hell that meant, right? Like, I didn't
Yeah.
know, but I boiled it down to, okay, I'm gonna tell my boss, like my like temporary boss, because we have like temporary bosses during that time. I said, okay, I'm gonna send you an email every single day, and it's gonna have 3 sentences, and those 3 sentences are essentially what you're doing. One thing I'm proud of from today, one way I could get better, and how am I approaching tomorrow? Three
Mm-hmm.
sentences, and you do that over time. And ultimately, once I got a permanent job with the online team, once I did all that, what it informed the people around me, because the other part is sharing that and
Mm-hmm.
getting feedback and letting people in on your growth and like having your circle of people who you allow to speak into. Because, like you said, there's a lot of voices out there, even when it comes to like the body dysmorphia, who are going to tell you different things. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be very picky about the voices you give weight to.
Correct.
And like my boss that I had at the time, like we are great friends right now. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, at work, you trusted me like recklessly with some things where you were like, just run with this thing, right? Said,
Mm-hmm.
what made you make that decision? And he goes, well, you were telling me what you were developing in. Like your daily emails had a theme to it of you were always winning in this particular way. And so I was able to see where your strengths were and where I could give you leash because
Mm-hmm.
that's where you were strong in. And then, but it also told me like, how could I support you? Because this theme was always happening in the opportunities. And
Yeah.
so if you noticed, I was getting you help where you needed it over here, and I would have given you less leash over here. And
Mm-hmm.
so, the journaling, the making yourself aware of that was helpful. And to me, the second step of that was like having somebody who you can trust to like share that story with and give you perspective and like, what do you think about this? How could I get better? And they can give you an honest answer because they're actually invested in your
Yeah.
success versus the random person who like has nothing to lose by crushing somebody's day who they don't even care about.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give weight. Like, again, anybody's opinion only carries as much weight as you give it. So, and we all have kind of, our top five, our circle of five is what I call it. The five closest people to you are the ones who you should care the most about their thoughts and opinions of you and who aren't afraid to give you constructive feedback in a manner that's they know they're doing it out of love because they see your potential and they want to to go exponential with your potential. So it's huge, and people give too much weight to people that should not matter, about who they're becoming or where they're going with their life. So I just like the circle of five is something I've always really spent a lot of time on, really deciphering who I want my five to be, because obviously you'll still have people outside of that five who you care about and you can trust, but your five are like your ride or die. I'm going to tell you like it is, but I'm not doing it out of hate. I'm doing it out of love. And your opinion matters to me.
Mm-hmm.
Their opinion should always matter to you. And it doesn't always have to necessarily be family and spouses and stuff like that too. In fact, I think your circle of five should be people outside of that realm, because their love doesn't have to be unconditional,
Mm-hmm.
in a sense either too, right? Like unconditional love can be um, a big barrier to this sometimes and cause issues. So your circle of five should be people who don't necessarily have your blood or share your anything else, but they should be people who are just your top five friends who, one, you can grow from, they can grow from you also, but they can also push you to levels and limits that you just can't push yourself to. And that trust has to be there on top of it all, and respect as well.
Oh, my mind went in like so many directions as you were as you were talking about that, because I think about like I went to, and just follow me on this wave. Follow me on this wave.
Okay,
So I
I
think
got you.
like from a uh from a evolutionary biology like standpoint, like those five people were your tribe, because
Mm-hmm.
if something
Yeah.
impacted them, they impacted you. And then
Mm-hmm.
you fast forward, and now, like, it doesn't need to be your neighbor because you
Mm-hmm.
kind of, number one, you kind of have your own life. And number two, we're able to move wherever we want. And so there's nothing that ties us to that person that says we're going to be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so, having those five people is harder now than ever,
Yeah.
because you aren't like, your survival is not dependent on the person next to you living anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But psychologically, that relationship is just as important as if it did,
Yeah.
like to be able to do that. The circle of five, do you think with like technology, and even this past month, like politically, we've gotten super weird in like
Mm-hmm.
things that we wrap our opinions and all of that to, in things that happen around the world, but we don't know our neighbor's name, which is like very odd.
Strange.
Do,
Yeah.
do you think that most people actually have a circle of five that they could say these people care about them, would be there no matter what for them?
You know, I think people have, like, I don't think they've designated these people. I think if they thought about it, they could certainly create it. But I feel like we put, like you said, there's too many variables that people find to be important, and that either you're in or you're out because of these variables, that then we really lose sight of what really matters within people the most, right? There's good people on both sides of the spectrum politically, there's good people on all sides of the spectrum religiously. And in fact, those are the people that you should have in your circle, because you can learn a lot just by listening to those different points of views and those different opinions. Um, they're very valuable things to know, because that's just people. We're not all the same. We're not cut from the same cloth as well. So I think where people really miss out on becoming bigger and better human beings is they cut out people that aren't like them. And that really debilitates and stunts their growth big time. I love learning from people from other cultures. I love learning from people from other points of view politically. In fact, I reach out and I ask questions as to why. Like, I don't understand your point of view. Tell me more so I can understand. And it's not to be swayed. It's not to give them the opportunity to create a political change in me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an opportunity for me to just get a grip on, why are we acting this way, and how can I sympathize or empathize with what they're going through, in order to better just understand what they're dealing with. And so I think a lot of people have 5 people around them they could designate. I just think they're missing the point because they haven't done it yet, or they're afraid to, or what they do or have done and designated, it's not enough variety. It's not enough people that are different than them,
Hmm.
big time.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've lost our ability to be sticky, if that makes sense. Like to
Yeah.
stick with people and be like, no, like we're in this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it used to be the family that kind of taught us how to do that outside of our family when it came to
Mm-hmm.
like, this is our town, this is our, and it taught us how to have these sticking points in our identity that kind of help us find purpose and
Mm-hmm.
want the best for things. But even with family, like they used to be multi-generational, right?
Um,
Your one of the things that you learned and one of the roles of the father was to teach the son the trade, whatever trade they did.
yeah.
They taught to the, and that was like that was a rite of passage. But now that is not. And so
Mm-hmm.
what is handed down from generation to generation? Well, really, it's happened so fast that I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly am not sure. And so now there's no tie to the family, which means the kids are spread out all over the country. And when the parents get old, that they go into nursing homes.
Mm-hmm.
And like when they would when it used to be, now it's the kids' turn to take care of them. And you just
Mm-hmm.
see that less and less and less.
Totally.
And not everything about the change is bad, but like I don't think we've given enough weight to what we've given up
Yeah.
in this process. And I'm sure like being a nurse, because when did you start, like when did everything start? Because you just got finished with school in the past
Yeah, I
year.
finished nursing school in April, so it'll be a year April.
Okay, that's, oh my goodness. What is time? Like what are
I know. Flying.
like and
Flying 7 months.
and I'm sure you see like a lot of like sad stories because you're in the
Yeah,
ER,
I
you
am.
know, and you're just like, gosh, like some people's realities, like that is, I'm sure you see a lot, you know, going through that. So you see this through that lens. And then I'm sure even in the gym you've seen people have to kind of work through different things and
Yeah.
being able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's maybe why I like the ER so much, as grueling and difficult they can be, especially on, back to that mental side. We see a lot, and we have to be able to dissociate from those things that are pretty traumatic. But also, there's a lot of things that remind us of our family members that are either still here or have passed, right? Like, and being able to just stay grounded in those moments, it can be a very big challenge. And yeah, we do see all walks of life in regards to idealisms, beliefs. We have a lot of psych patients, right? And so getting to know their reality in a very short amount of time to be able to help them appropriately is also very difficult. And at times it wants you want to be the psych patient and bang your head against the wall because
Mhm.
it's like you're not getting anywhere. But again, I think that's why I like it so much, is because I am so people oriented and I'm so infatuated with the different facets of people that being exposed to that is something that I find to be more interesting rather than exhausting.
Mhm.
So I try to take it for what it's worth in that realm. And then fitness, of course, like it all started. And I think the reason I got really good with people is because of fitness, because they all want different things.
Mhm.
They all want to look like certain people. And then they all also have their own mental and physical challenges and hurdles too, that there is not a one size fits all approach. And so having to constantly make those manipulations for different people um, has definitely given me challenges, but also allowed me to just kind of open up my eyes and not be so closed-minded and closed off and just be like, okay, well, what they're saying is absolutely ridiculous, but it's not ridiculous to them. So
Hmm.
I have to understand why and be able to teach them, because it's my job I'm a trainer, but I'm a teacher underneath it all. I always say that if you're working with me for over a year, it's not because you need me, it's because you want to work with me. Otherwise, I've failed you. Like, you should be able to go off on your own
Hmm.
after a year of working with me, but you're still working with me because we're friends, you like me, you like what we're
Hmm.
doing, but you wouldn't necessarily need me. I've taught you a lot, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, it's been very beneficial for me to have a trainer lifestyle for so long. It's been over 15 years that I've been a trainer. So, um, the exposure I've had to the different people in my life is crazy. But the cool thing about it is it all boils down to still, like, we all want to see each other succeed, and I think that's what I like about it. Like, the common denominator is always like, I get to watch people win, and that's amazing, and I get to be a small part of that. So for me, like, that when it's boiling down to just people being successful, and that's what everybody wants for each other and themselves, like, that is just like the beauty in the garden for sure. Like, you find that rose in the dark corner every single time, whether it's, the 2 months or 2 years, like, it comes eventually.
Hmm.
But everybody always wants each other to do well, and I think that's the best part. And same thing at the hospital. We want people to be well and go home. We don't want you to stay, and we certainly don't want to have to bring you down to the morgue either.
Yeah, right.
So the goal still boils down to, we want people to have success and be well. So um, the two, the two professions are so astronomically similar, that it has just been a really easy transition for me to go into this new, more medically based role, I should say.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, when first time I came into Lifetime and I took GTX, I got a compliment on my form because of all the stuff that you taught me. They're like, oh,
Oh,
okay,
yes,
like
let's go.
you.
Yes, I love that.
They're
I
like,
love that.
oh, okay, you've been to okay, all right. I'm like, yeah, yeah.
We work hard on the analogies. I feel like that is where I excel as a coach, is I definitely prioritize making analogies and visuals with my words, because I should be able to manipulate your form without touching you.
Yeah,
And if I can't do that, then I need to go back to the drawing board, because when I have 20 or 30 of you in class, I can't physically get one-on-one with all of you. So I
yeah,
should be able to manipulate with my words appropriately, and analogies are, they're the best. Like, the closing your car door with a handful of groceries has been
yeah.
my RDL cue from day one. That one is OG. I've had that one in my back pocket for a long time, but there are so many others, like, locking in your lats, juice your lemons in your lats.
Yeah.
Things like that, where people are like, "Oh, that makes a lot more sense." And then it clicks. The light bulb effect is wild with some of these analogies. So I love it. It gives me, I think the other one I like to use is for pistol squats. And when you're
Okay.
lowering down in your pistol squat, pretend like you're a hen sitting on your eggs, and you don't want to squish your eggs. You want to land soft on your
Yep.
eggs, and then, without breaking them. So again, things like that, they just help people. So I'm glad they commented on your form, because you also worked really hard too to understand and improve. So don't give us all the credit.
Well,
You're a great student.
I couldn't bend over to get the bar if you remember that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had such little movement, like I
Yep.
couldn't even do an RDL with the bar and bend over to do it when I first started. And so yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Anytime.
Thank
Always here to
you.
help. Chock full of the analogies, always.
Now this is like kind of it's not a hard left turn, but it is changing topic a little bit.
Okay.
Are you doing anything right now that is making you doubt yourself, that like you're not sure that you can do, that you haven't done before? Like, what are you doing to challenge yourself right now?
Um, I think switching gears to the hybrid athlete lifestyle has been a big change, to challenge myself in the fitness realm. Personally, I'm leaning more heavily on faith-based things.
Yeah.
I'm doing like a a section of my Bible every day. I have joined a club where it's like every day there's a chapter or two written out, and that's kind of what you read. So we did Genesis for January, and now we're moving on to the next group for February. So I think that for me is where I want to see the biggest amount of growth personally over the next year. Is just, I've always been a very faith-based human,
Mhm.
but I want to be more upfront and vocal about that side, because I think that is for really amazing reasons. That's becoming like the new thing, even
Mhm.
though it's been around for hundreds of
Right?
years. It's finally becoming more mainstream to be a part of this movement, which is incredible to see.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, I think not necessarily jumping on the train. The train's been rolling for me for a long time, but I definitely want to continue to exercise and be more vocal on that side of the spectrum with everything, because everyone knows me to be a heavy motivator, almost to a militant level. But they don't ever really see, the soft but unspoken side of just like, okay, well, this comes from, though, my confirmation
Yeah.
of faith. And I say things with conviction a lot in the fitness realm, but I'm also very convicted in these other parts too.
Yep.
I just want to be more outspoken about that.
Yeah. That's so that's so awesome. Yeah. And then well, before we talk about how High Rocks went,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And so you have a great church and everything. I think I saw in a story on a Sunday
hmm
that you were there. Where are you going in Phoenix?
So CCV is right outside of our neighborhood,
That's
one of their
awesome.
satellite campuses. So
Yep.
while people have their qualms about going to mega churches, in my opinion, any sort of practice is better than no practice at all.
Yep.
And again, that could be in any subject. But for faith, I don't think we need to judge each other on how or where or what aspect we exercise it,
Yeah.
so long as it's being done. That's what we do. And so for me, it's been great so far. It's very much in the category of things that I like to learn.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that CCV has been really helpful for me recently to
Yeah.
just kind of get a grip on everything in the modern Christian world.
Yeah, my wife and I went to the Peoria campus out there, and so when Bridget says mega church, we're talking about a church across like 17, 18 campuses, and like
Yes.
eighty
Huge.
thousand people go on Easter. Like
Mhm.
it is a huge campus, but our huge church. But I will tell you, um, we are still part of our small group text thread out of out
Mhm.
of out of CCV, and our kids were each other's ride or die from like the ages of 2 to 5,
Mhm.
there. And so even though it's a huge church, it's a place to plant. And I think we were talking about like being sticky,
Mhm.
and having people around you. I think it's only bad if you aren't sticky and you just kind of are detached. The main thing is connection. Like you were talking about your group reading, reading through the Bible. Like that's the magic of it.
Yeah.
Not how big or small the church is. It's just having the people around you, and they're not perfect. You're not perfect. Let's just kind of figure this out together. Like,
Yeah.
well, let's not be perfect together and figure out this thing that we're trying to
Yeah.
do called life. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I love it too, because so going back to our circle of five, right? There's one person in our circle of five who's just like not quite sold on all of this too, right?
Yeah.
And so, but that's fine with us. Like, so when we bring it up or when it comes up, we talk about it, but we don't force anything, right? It's like just another opportunity for us to learn from that person why they feel that way. And then they ask questions to us in return as to why we view it in our way. So, that too, like in the circle of five format, like there you should, if you don't have a religious affiliation, you should get one person around you that does, and not to
Mhm.
push you into it, but rather to give you answers to your questions and just be someone around it. They're all very different, and some of them are affiliations that aren't even necessarily Christian, right? So
Yeah.
um I love that we have that in our circle, because I certainly don't understand why they view it that way sometimes, but it really helps to know why.
Yeah. No, and I know a lot of people don't even know who I've met at work, and they only know that I'm Christian based on following me on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, oh, that's why. Like, it's almost like oh, that's why he's the way. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
No, I
that
get
makes
it
sense.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, that's
Yeah.
why. Okay. All right. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not Christian at all, but it just kind of is like the clicking of that's why he's the way he is. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good. And it's funny you bring up, the hybrid athlete transitioning to there, because you just did, was it your first High Rocks
It
this weekend?
was, yes, yeah.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
here you are talking. I mean, it looks like that's a
Alive.
headboard, so you might be in bed right
I
now
am,
with
yes.
legs.
That's
So how was it? What was your experience?
it was fabulous. So I think people kind of roll their eyes, right? Because High Rocks is kind of the new talk of the town in the fitness world. Like,
Yeah,
oh, another person doing High Rocks,
yeah.
right? Um, but I think where it's really caught fire is the atmosphere.
Mhm.
The cool thing about what happened this weekend is it was the first time they've held a High Rocks in a stadium, um, which was epic. I mean, it
That's
was
awesome.
huge, huge. And it was so big that they had the top 15 men and women from around the world come and do one of their competitions there too. So it
That's cool.
exposed us to some of the best, and really being able to see like what the drive and dedication, like you think you're dedicated, like look at these guys, like
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
out of their mind, right? So that was really cool. And again, I think where High Rocks does it right is it's a very inclusive environment. So, however, I will say this is not your typical community 5K mud run. You do have to train for this event, because there were several people that found that out after lap one, that this was an epic workout,
Uh-huh.
right? So if you hadn't properly trained, your world got rocked about for a whole 2 hours if you even got that far. Um, but it
Well,
was
it's one of those things where
so,
your world's kind of rocked anyway,
oh
regardless.
yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, totally. I mean, and I had to definitely switch my training style to endorse that, right? To put
Yeah.
myself through a lot of things, I don't ever really want people to work under fatigue, but you have to
Mhm.
train that way because you are under the constant element of fatigue the entire time. You're working at submax VO2 levels, 170 to 190 heart rate. Hopefully not 190, but you're
Mhm.
up there, and you're up there for a while. And I posted my data too, where I spent like, I don't know, 45 minutes in zone 4, which was, 160s ish to 170s, and then 170 and above for about 25 minutes. So for me, that's a lot of time in
Yep.
those high heart rate zones, but
Yep.
it is an incredible atmosphere to be a part of. And Sunday being the last day of it here in Phoenix, there were a lot of people there too, because we were in doubles. So there was not one, but two people per team, and people showing up for both people to watch. And the crowd was enormous. And so while it got a little sketchy at times with transitions because of all the bodies that were running,
Mhm.
it was something that you can't really describe unless you're there in person experiencing it, just as a whole. It was incredible. So I I'm so glad that I got to do it. Number one, because there's people who will train and don't make it because of injury or
Mhm.
whatever falls apart. So I was just thrilled to have stayed healthy enough to get there, and then be able to actually compete was just a whole nother level. You kind of black out,
Mhm.
to be honest. But I remember working with my
For
partner
one reason or
Amanda.
another, you'll
Yes, I'm like, just keep your feet moving. You'll get to the finish line eventually. But we ended up doing so well. We got
That's awesome.
an hour and 16 minutes as our first partner, and Amanda, my partner, was not well. She'd been sick with an upper respiratory infection, and so for her to even like stick with me, um, and gut it out was awesome. So we know very well where we want to take our race next time. But yeah, I mean, anybody who wants to have an out of body experience, that is High Rocks. It's very out of body, because you definitely feel like you're out of your mind for even attempting it. But yeah, it was something. I had a blast.
What
Really
do you
did.
what do you tell yourself when you don't think you can, do another medicine ball, or you can't push a sled, or you can't when things what's your strategy in the mental game?
I don't let myself get there, number
Okay.
one. I
Okay.
don't even think about it. I don't use the words I can't or I'm done or I have a mindset where I already know this is going to hurt. I already know that. I signed up for that. So when it starts to hurt, I need to find my next step, and that might be a quick shakeout. That might be a quick like chant to myself. I'll say like little 1 or 2 word phrases to myself, like go, don't stop, next rep. You have to find those little mental cues for yourself, but I don't even let myself get to the quitting point. I'm 100 or 0. I'm all
Yeah.
or nothing when I do these things, and I train that way. And again, people around me might be like, "Oh my God, like she's crazy." Yeah, I know, but like that's the mindset you have to have. You have to be a little bit crazy in order to get through these events. It's not for fun. It's not for Instagram. And a lot of people, you can tell who's there to be for the gram and who's there to actually like
Hmm.
throw down a time. Um, because there's a different mindset happening, especially in the tunnel when we're getting ready to leave. I'm in the back corner chanting to myself and just like staying in my thoughts. And then there's people over here, like hugging and high-fiving, and I'm like, don't touch me. I gotta, I'm ready to go.
I'm about
Like,
to go to work. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I have my mind on. So it's a good question though, because I feel like a lot of people will say like, I can't do another one. My body's shutting down. And yeah, there are times where you certainly like cannot do another rep, but it's that mentality of just one more, and
Hmm.
then just one more. And then as soon as you get to the run is the break, which is crazy because I hate to run. But every time I got done with an exercise, I was elated because I knew that the run, I'd get my legs back. It was an
Yep.
opportunity for me to shake out.
Yep.
So that to me was a major change where I viewed running before as torture.
Yeah.
Um, and I was able to train myself out of that mindset to now running is a break. Running is a release. It's an oasis
Yeah.
instead of now the weights are the torture, which
Yeah.
is a total flip for me. Total
Yeah.
flip.
See, and
So,
what I really like about what you just said, and it applies anywhere in life when you are trying to do something you haven't done before, and it could be whatever, promotion, get a role you've never done before, however, is the fact that it's hard is not a surprise. And so when
mhm,
it gets hard, you have to look at it as normal. Like,
yes,
this is so heavy. Oh, wait. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
this is
aware.
normal. Yeah. Yeah, like this is hard to do. Yeah, it's supposed to
Mhm,
be. I don't know what else I thought it was going to be. So, keep going instead of going, "Oh no, it's hard. This means I should stop." You know,
correct.
um and I know in my running, because I still do a lot of it. I did a race, and I told you about it, the Outlast race here, which was 18 miles, and it was a 5K at the top of every hour for 6 hours on it. And the hardest
No
part
thanks.
about that is that you could quit at any time, any
Right.
lap, because a 5K does not take that long to run. And
Mhm.
so once you do like 12 miles, 15 miles. It takes a lot to go, I've stopped. I'm Gucci. I'm at the starting line. My car is literally, I'm like, it is my aid station. I could literally
Yeah.
just get in and nobody would know and nobody would care.
Right.
Like,
No
like
one will look
that's
for
the
you.
other thing, right? Like, yeah, and there's something that is, there's something about putting yourself in a position where you could stop and nobody would think anything, but you decide not to.
Yeah.
And like that is a part of the training. And you brought it up. Like, you normally say, don't train to fatigue. But if you know you are going to have to face fatigue, you have to put yourself in a position where you have to make the decision to stop, but you don't.
Right.
And so running loops is a lot of what I did. Like, if I had 30 minutes, part of the training for that race was, I have 30 minutes. I need to go get a 5K done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to go get this done during lunch. I'm going to go run a quick one right after work. And I was tired. And it's like, yeah, because you're going to be tired. So you need to know what it feels like that you can do so you can trust yourself with tired. And
Totally.
really, that's all confidence is not believing that you're good enough to do something, but it's being able to trust yourself with a certain
Mm-hmm.
thing. And if I could trust myself with tired, if I can trust myself with fatigue, if I can trust myself with these different things, then when it comes, it's not soul crushing.
Right. Yeah. And don't, I always tell people, I'll shoot you straight. I'm not going to, I'm transparent, because if I lied or if I was lied to by you and it sucked, I would be mad at you. So I'm just going to tell you like it is so that it's no surprise to you. And you can't be mad at me because I warned you. And I had one moment in my life where I was living in Costa Rica, and I relay back to this all the time because I feel like this is a great analogy to what your point is. I went whitewater rafting on the Pacure River, which, come to find, is like the fifth most dangerous river in the world. And long story short, our boat ended up tipping and capsizing. And this was about 3 months after I had had my first ACL surgery, so I couldn't use my legs to swim. And we're in the middle of a class 5 rapid, which is the most dangerous, and we're ping-ponging off of rocks, and my friend hit her face and she was bleeding, and we were the first boat, so the river was taking us away from everybody because everyone was behind us. And when we finally got back together, I mean, we were bawling. We're scared. Like, we're in the middle of a rainforest, right? And we wanted no part of it anymore. Zero. And we told the guide, we're like, we just want to be done. We want to go home. And we were about halfway through a 4-hour trek. And he's like, well, there's no way out. The only way out is the river. And I'm like, what? Like, I did this in Colorado once and I could get on an ATV and they would
Yeah.
take me back. And what do you mean there's no way out? And he said, no, like, once you're in, and there's no way but through. You have to take the river or that's it. So we get back in this boat and we're trembling and we're shaking and terrified because we're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna drown. Like, it happened once, it can happen again. But obviously we made it through because I'm here today. But that moment I relay back to a lot with all kinds of things that have happened to me. But I always resort back to that experience because there's no way but through. Take the river. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's smooth, rough, you know, whatever. You have to take it for whatever shape it's in, and you got to do it anyway. So that has been like a very concrete memory of mine for experiences like this and others.
I love that. And I love that tagline. You have to take the river. And that may actually be the title of this episode as we're talking.
Yeah. Whatever your
But
river is, you got to ride the river
yeah, that's
any way,
it.
shape, or form, whether you're in the water or in the boat.
I love
Take
it.
the river. That's
uh,
awesome. I love that.
I love that. Yeah. I have one last question for you. And
Sure.
it's how we end every episode. There are going to be people who hear the parts of your story and who are like, well, it sounds like you've always been strong. And you, throughout your life, have just had to pick what kind of strong you want to be. Do I want to be
Mm-hmm.
body lifter strong? Do I want to be soccer strong? And you were good at that. And then now hybrid athlete strong. And then now, you're a nurse. So now you don't even need sleep because you're so damn strong. Like, yeah, like all this kind of stuff, right? Like
Wow.
all that kind of stuff. And somebody, I think, could hear somebody's story like you and could take that away. What would you tell somebody, just being real, who needs to see themselves in your story? What would you tell them that if you can do this, they can do it too?
Totally. You define your version of strong. You define whatever that is to you. My 100 and your 100 are not the same. And they never will be. But that doesn't mean that your 100 is not important and worthy and just the best you can do. Everyone's at different levels, but you never know what level you are at until you start. Um, and there is no good, better, or best. You just always go for your best regardless. And again, everyone's strong is different. Everyone's 100 is different. But if you can confidently say that your best effort was given, then there's no question, right? You have to believe in yourself regardless. So, whatever version of my story touches somebody else, all I can hope is that it's a story that they take forward and they grow. And I want them to know that you can't be me, right? We can't be each other, but you can be the best version of you to whatever extent you want to do it for. So we can't do it for you, but we can certainly be a part of it with you, and that's what we want the most. So I really hope that if this did speak to anybody at any level, to any extent, that they know they can always reach out to me with everything too, on any platform, and I'd be more than happy to help them get through it. But on top of it all, you define your strong. Don't let anybody define that for you. I had to learn that from a very young age.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so if when you said reach out to you, where are you on Instagram? Where are you on the platforms? Where can people find you?
Oh, my Instagram is at boland88. That's where I'm probably the most active. You will not find me on Snapchat or TikTok. I can't juggle all of the social media stuff. I do have a Facebook, Bridget Oland. You can find me there. But I would say Instagram is probably my hottest handle that I have, until I get more technology savvy or just like juggling it all, because it's too much, honestly.
It is a lot.
I don't know how people have like all these platforms, but I would love it. Friend me, whatever, DM me if you have questions. If you are around the Peoria area, pop into Lifetime, catch me in person. But I also just posted my Calendly schedule on my Instagram too. You can click and schedule a 30-minute free phone call of whatever you think you need to talk about. Totally just whatever. I mean, any topic. I told people, whatever you think you need to get off your chest or learn more about, that's what I'm here for. So you can pop in and schedule your free 30 minutes for you. And yeah, I'm pretty simple. Catch me there. I can't wait.
Love it. Love it. Well, awesome. And I have loved our conversation. I mean, we're like a river. We did a lot. We talked about a lot. I'm like thinking through everything that we talked about. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
dang. And I look down, I'm like, we've already been talking for an hour. And I feel like we could
know,
have
it goes
went
fast.
on, but yeah, it goes super, super fast.
Save it for round 2.
That's it. That is it.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much for listening. And if any part of Bridget's story inspired you, remember, leave a review, and not because I need some more subscribers, not because of that, but it's because there are rules to the game of podcasting, and those are the rules. I didn't write the game. All right.
Follow the rules, people.
Yeah, exactly. And so remember, do something to make you proud of you this week. All right.
Let's go.